Man, what is going on, y'all? Thank y'all so much for coming back with us as the story unfolds. Today, joining me and Mr. Janice, we have a special guest, Mr. Marvin Fleming,
Yes,
y'all.
sir.
Let's go, baby! And just go into like depth about, or like as deep as you want to, about who you are, kind of what you do, kind of what you feel as if you're going to do, your plans.
All right. I want to start by saying I appreciate y'all for having me on today. This very means a lot to me. My first podcast I ever done.
Let's go, baby!
So yeah, I appreciate y'all. But just a little bit about myself. My name is Marvin Fleming, and I'm from Ridgeway, South Carolina, a small town down in South Carolina. I actually went to Fairfield Central High School. From Fairfield Central High, I went to Limestone College. I played a few years of basketball there at Limestone. From Limestone, I then transferred to Claflin University. I played a few years there. I ended up playing my last, I think, 2 years at Claflin University of basketball. School was tough, as we all know. So I ended up transferring again from Claflin, and then I ended up going to the University of South Carolina, where then I ended up graduating with I ended up getting my degree in sociology. From there, from USC, then I moved to Charlotte. That's how I ended up in Charlotte. I moved to Charlotte from USC, from Columbia after I graduated, and I started actually working at Central Piedmont Community College. And I was actually working in the accounts department there, helping students, get into classes, register for classes and things like that. While I was at CP, I decided to go ahead and get my master's degree in education with a concentration in sports performance and leadership. So from CPCC, I then went, and that's how I ended up in my role that I am in now as the academic coordinator for the Trio Upward Bound program here in Charlotte, which I love. I love the work that I do, the work that we do for the youth out in the community out here in Charlotte. So yeah, that's like a little bit of, a lot of my background, and how I ended up where I am now. So yes,
Cool.
That's dope. That's dope. And even going into that, because a lot of people don't know, of course, I also work alongside you, and of course, working alongside both of y'all, I know that both of you are men of caring nature and caring about the kids and making sure that they're all right and making sure that you guys do your best. And I see that as a way, as in, when the big bad wolf try to steal the sheep, y'all are the shepherd. Y'all make sure that you do your best to keep these kids, and you keep your community and keep everything safe, and you do your best to guide it. So when we talk about the way of the shepherd, like, how did you guys get into that? Do y'all feel that it was something that it just drove you to, in terms of like everything that you did in your life, or that's like your calling? Like how'd you get into leading people, and how'd you get into guiding people to what ultimately is their purpose or their journey they're trying to help them through life?
Well, first of all, go Gamecocks.
Go Gamecocks.
Go Gamecocks.
Yeah.
So Tyler, I feel like you might be left out in this conversation a little,
Hey,
because
look, yo.
I also grew up in South Carolina. Lived in Columbia for a while.
Well, my
moved to
family grew up in
Charlotte.
South Carolina.
Okay, so we got some South Carolina ties here. So
Okay.
didn't go to USC, but always been a Gamecocks fan. I guess that's an exercise in futility, especially with football.
Yeah.
But who knows? One day,
day.
before we die, we may
Praying.
see.
Yeah,
We may see a championship.
Praying for one.
Exactly.
Should go Panthers.
It's funny though, because off of your question, I was actually talking to somebody just this morning, like, how did I end up working with young people? And I guess for me, it was very a roundabout kind of journey for me. Even in high school, I definitely, I did mentoring, and I taught. I used to be like a piano player. I used to teach piano lessons to like kids that were younger.
Yep,
So I guess
young Mozart.
yeah, something like that. So I guess I was doing a little bit of that, but that was not the career goal. Career goal was definitely I wanted to go into government, and actually wanted to be a spy for a while. Worked with the CIA or the FBI or something like that.
Shoot, 007 Janice.
Yeah, but more like Jason Bourne Janice. Yeah, because those movies came out when I was in high school, and very transformational in terms of like motivating me into what I wanted. Yeah,
That's dope.
Wanted to be Jason Bourne, but no. My mom was a teacher, so education was kind of always in my blood, I guess you could say. So after I went to DC, government was not for me, like definitely not. I guess I could say I started on the I want to be a teacher route, and while I was on that path, I began to discover, hey, I actually really enjoy working with young people, and I seem to have a knack for communicating with them. Because it's funny, one question I'm going to have for you is people all the time ask me this question: how do you do it? I don't know how to respond to that question. How do you do it? Or I could never work with teenagers, you know? Um, and I think it's really just about communicating well.
Yeah.
And with teenagers, there's a certain way you got to communicate. And I found I can do this, you know? I can listen and I can speak in a way that they listen to me. Um, and so, in a way, I guess it was just kind of like I began to do more and more and more, you know, find different outlets of here. Let me work with, you know, this group, or let me do this activity, you know, working with young people. And then, of course, I became a teacher, and kind of the rest is history. Now I run a nonprofit that works with teenagers, you know. But it was kind of organic for me, to be honest. It wasn't necessarily I woke up one day and I'm just like, oh, this is my life's goal. I want to work with teenagers for the rest of my life. It wasn't like that. It was very much a process of this is what I'm good at, and I actually really like this. Yeah. So, how about you?
It's dope.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah. So mine was a little organic also. I actually started out working while I was in college, as I explained earlier, the many colleges that I've been to. The first one I went to, I started out trying to be a math teacher. Also, I wanted to get my degree in math and be a math teacher because I always felt like I was just so strong in math. So I started out doing that, and as my journey through college goes, that's how I actually got linked in Trio. Um, from every school that I went to, they had a Trio program. So I actually would start doing Trio like work study. That would be my work study job. So I would actually work with students throughout the school year as far as like tutoring, helping them with, anything they may need help with as far as while they're in school. And then on the summertime, as we know, Trio, if you don't know anything about Trio, Trio has a summer program that allows the students to actually stay on the college campus. So whatever campus I was at the time, I actually got to stay on the campus and actually be a counselor for, the Upward Bound programs that I worked for. And that's how I actually kind of got into, just loving to help younger people that was, that was younger than me, that looked up to me. Like I said, I was their counselor during the summertime, and it was just dope, man. Like I say, they just learning how to communicate with them, learning how to, like I say, they may have problems at home, problems all over, but they would come to, me to kind of talk them out, help them out, whatever they were going through. So that's kind of how I fell in love with it, and like I say, from there, I've been connected, with students. As far as, like I say, I'm actually working full time with Trio now, and this is all I do. Like, so my phone rings all day long, with students calling and texting, and they having, whether it's something good or something bad, I'm always here and open to, help them out. So like I said, that's kind of how I got into it. Man, I wanted to be a math teacher. I actually was trying to take the math test, and if you know anything about the certification test, it's tough. So I was struggling with that, and it was like, dang. But I knew this was a passion of mine to help. Like I said, to be that leader for these younger generation that was looking for positive role models and things. So like I said, I kind of gave up on the teaching thing, but when I got connected in Trio, I could still, I still find my niche to be able to still be connected with these students some type of way. And now, like I say, I'm actually in a position where I can actually hire teachers, pick my teachers to teach students and things like that. Like I say, hire, counselors like Counselor T to, work beside me and help students out with whatever they may be going through in life. So, yeah, and like I said, I love Trio, and I see myself, like say, owning my own nonprofit one day.
Yeah.
Like you, Mrs. Janice, and maybe even running a couple different Trio programs one day is a goal of mine, because like I said, students need this support. Like say, the support that we give them, like say, they need that to be able to make it in life. Like it's so tough out here nowadays. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, and like I say, I love it, and like I say, I don't see myself doing anything different right now. Like just being there and just being that person that they can always call and talk to whenever they need something is dope. And like I said, and then when you see them come from the bottom and you see them at the top, I mean, that's what the work that you do, what I'm saying, is actually working. So yeah, man, I love it. I love, like say, helping the younger generation pretty much, and
100%.
being that role model that they can look look up to and call whenever they need. You know?
Yeah.
It's
I,
facts, yo.
I feel like seeing the fruit of your labor when you're working with young people, it trumps all the struggles, all the frustrations. And I think when people from the outside, they look at teenagers and they only see, oh, they're going to be disrespectful, they're stubborn, they're lazy, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of that may be true, and you and I can both attest, like, it can be frustrating. But at the same time, when you see those successes, all those frustrations, totally worth it, at least for me, And sometimes I wish I could communicate that better with people on the outside. It's like, hey, you see the struggles, but you don't see the victories, the successes, exactly,
or they don't understand like where the struggle comes from. You know what I'm saying? Like these struggles come from different places. You know, like you don't know what the student been through. You don't know what they going through. Like you say, you just see them like, okay, like you say, you see them out doing whatever they doing, and you label them right then, but you don't know the background,
the story
of where all
behind the
this
story
stems from. So when we're able to get inside, like you say, talk to parents, talk to and actually understand what's actually going on the side that we don't see, the side that the world don't see, and then we understand that, and we able to try to work with that and work around those things to, like you said, get them to that success story that we know we all come from somewhere. We all have a story, but like you said, who's helping me become successful? Like, I'm just gonna look at you and keep beating you down, talking bad about you, or you gonna have somebody help you, what I'm saying, that's gonna ride with you through your struggles, like you said, to see that success story. And that it gets no better than, like you said, seeing somebody struggle, then you help them through all that, and then now they successful. It's like, that's what we do it for.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What do y'all feel like from both of y'all perspectives? And if the people don't know, I came from both of these programs.
It's
I was in Upper Bound. Yes Lord. Ms. Flynn was not my actual counselor during then because I graduated, but going back and getting that connection, he saw potential in me. Just as Mrs. Janice seen potential in me to be on the board and everything. But getting back to it, shout out to Lee, shout out to Upper Bound. But getting back to it, what do y'all think the defining qualities? Don't have to be one defining quality, but you guys were talking about. I heard you guys have patience, of course, that confidence to understand that this is in a way, like you're calling to help them. What do you feel like are the core qualities that you have that helps aid you to be the best shepherds that you can be?
I think for me, and I've always said this as not just a counselor and a mentor, but also even in teaching, is I don't take a lot of it personally. And what I mean by that is, I think you walk into a classroom with teenagers or you work with teenagers, and the struggles are going to be there. And I think where a lot of people and a lot of teachers kind of struggle is when they don't do what you want them to do. You feel like, oh, it's personal. They're disrespecting me, And so I guess maybe that also ties in with being patient. And you mentioned the word confidence as well. So I can work with a teenager and or a young person, a young man, and it seems like, oh, it's not connecting. All this work is not working. But for me, I see that story behind the story, and I realize, hey, this is not personal. It's got really nothing to do with me. In fact, they actually may deep down really appreciate me, and they actually may be listening. It's just not the time. We haven't reached that point where my message or our methods are really sinking in, if that kind of makes sense. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say having some thick skin in a way is necessary when you're working with teenagers, because they're in that phase of trying to establish their own identity, and so when you walk in, especially if you're not related, and all the young people that Mr. Fleming and I work with, we're not actually family to them. We don't have any, I don't know the right word, like legitimate authority to speak. I'm not your father, I'm not your uncle. I can't just come in and say, hey, you need to do this. Everything that we ask, they have to receive voluntarily. Like, hey, if I'm going to listen to you, I'm choosing to listen to you because I don't really have to listen to you. So yeah, I think for me is just having that ability to, okay, I took an L today, but it's not really about me, it's still about them. So I'm going to get up and I'll come back tomorrow and we're going to still keep working on them, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to say for mine would be, I mean, I guess like we always talk about the struggle, And like I said, I always go back to my struggle. Like I said, where I came from and the things that I went through in life, man, it really shows. Like I said, we was just talking about earlier. We don't know what these teenagers are going through, you know. And so if you have like we all have stories, like we all been through things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you understand, like say, and somebody was all that's another thing. Like no matter what I've been through, like I always had mentors and like coaches that I can call right now, you know, that was there for me when it was times that I was about to like crash out and just be like, nah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
done with this. Like I give up. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming home, leaving school. I don't want to do none of this no more. And they'll call and be like, nah, that's not what you about to do right now. You know,
Yep.
get yourself together. You know, call me if you need to, whatever. But you about to stay in school. You know, so like having those people in my life, you know, it kind of pushed me to like I say want to be that for somebody else because
Mm-hmm.
like I said we all get to times where we just want to be like, oh man, bump this is super hard, like I give
Mm-hmm.
up, you know. And just having that support, you know, that support that we are to these teenagers. Like you said, it may feel like you took a loss today, but at the end, like you said, they're gonna something in the back of their mind down the line, like they always say, it's going you're gonna get it one day, you know what I'm saying? I don't know when it's gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
but you're gonna get it one day, and then one day you're gonna look back and say, dang, Mr. Janice, you know, Mr. Tyler, Miss Fleming, they told me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like they told me this, you know what I'm saying? So those things that like I said, we may never know when that happened, you know what I'm saying, when that time is, but that time's gonna come. And you
Yep.
know what I'm saying? That's what we do it for. You know, like I said, we don't do it to get the glory and you
Yeah.
know do all that, you know what I'm saying? Because people barely even know what we do. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? They
Mm-hmm.
you tell somebody what you do and they be like, what? You
Mm-hmm.
know, but yeah, like what we do is dope, you know.
Yeah.
So and we do it, like I said, to help others get ahead in life, you know. And that's why you know I do it is because, like I said, having that support and the things that I had in life, like I said, I want to be able to get that back to you know somebody
Mm-hmm.
else. And like I said, I have a 5-year-old son, and I think about him every day. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to give him what he needs, you know, in life. So giving, I feel like helping these teenagers or giving to them, you always got to give to get, you know, like I believe in that. So helping them and giving, you know, everything I have to them, always, you know, that's how your blessings come back to you, you
Yep.
know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much how I, you know,
Yeah. I think being honest too. I've been
very
told many
honest.
times that I'm real.
You got to be.
Um,
Keep
and
it
I guess
real with them. That's how I always say, keep it real with them,
yeah,
no matter what. Like, we
Yeah.
gonna keep it real with them.
the fact that they're telling me I'm real means that they're getting a lot of not real
Not
adults
real adult,
in their life,
exactly.
you know. And so I think that it's really important to remember, like you were saying, like we were both 17 at one time,
Mm-hmm.
you know. We both had similar mindsets,
Mm-hmm.
similar levels of maturity, and so I think to be able to go back ourselves and remember, okay, I was walking in those shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really a place of mine to necessarily judge. It's more of, like you were saying, support, walk alongside. Like, hey, I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I've learned in life. You know, I've got 15 years on you,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I hope that my 15 years I can give that back, in wisdom, basically. But yeah, just keeping it honest with them. I
Keeping it
think
honest,
it's
man,
key.
keeping it real.
Yeah. So.
Like you say, they don't get the real, and they
Yep.
live in this social media world
Mm-hmm.
that's so fake. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like I said, when we do give it real, keep it real with them, it's like, you know, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
they know how to take it from us. You know how to talk to them. You ain't just down them or like bashing them,
Right.
but you're like, look, man, this is the real. This is what it is. Like either
Mm-hmm.
you gonna accept it. I'm not being fake with you or not. I'm keeping it real with you. So that means I got your best interest. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I want you to be successful. So I like I say, I'm gonna keep it real with you and tell you what the real is out here. That like I say,
Mm-hmm.
y'all living and looking at social media and think all this stuff on there is real. With
Yeah.
nah, that ain't that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing with these teenagers that I feel like we growing up. Like I say, we not to say that we didn't have social media, but when it came at a time they say we didn't get. Like I say, I love my social media now, but it's like I know how to separate it from real life.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And now this generation of teenagers, they don't know how to separate it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So like I said, they look at that and think that stuff is real when it's actually not. Like some people may keep it real on social media, but
Yeah.
I'm saying 90% of them
Mm-hmm.
they don't. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like I
But
said,
even me, I mean, I struggle sometimes with like YouTube. YouTube's my hole.
mm-hmm,
People talk about their hole.
mm-hmm,
So when it comes to talking about social media addiction and things like that, I keep it real with them. I'll be like, sure. I mean, there have been days like I'll look at my phone and I'm like, oh dang, I spent 3 hours on YouTube watching what?
Yeah.
What have I even been watching? It's like I struggle with the same things y'all struggle. Maybe not so much as y'all do. I mean, some of these kids, they look at their screen time and it's 12 hours a day. I'm like, I don't even get that. But at the same time, sure, have I disappeared into a YouTube hole for hours? Of course. And by being real about that, it's like, okay, he's not trying to just come at me.
Exactly.
He's coming alongside me.
Yeah,
And say, hey, we walking this journey of life together. We all got to grow at the same time. Yeah.
We still growing. Like, we do.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking on that too, like is from this combo, another core. I don't know if y'all mentioned it or not, but a big core. Speak about how much understanding plays a part in your job, and how big of a factor that is, and having an understanding on how to deal with situations and be able to navigate. A lot of times at the drop of a dime, there is no, okay, let me go back like a test and get these answers right. It's like, this is the only moment I got, maybe to save them. And everything that I've learned, every core thing that I've got, my understanding has to guide me. How big of a part is that?
I mean, it's huge, yeah. And I think the key is listening first. That's for me. Anytime, it doesn't matter whether it's a kind of an emergency situation or it's been a situation that's developing, you've got to understand the full story before you can really make a judgment. And also, especially if it's if it's an emotional situation, you don't want to necessarily bring emotion into the situation, starting charged with that. And that's where, for me, if I'm dealing with a kid maybe kicked out the house, okay, it's a hot situation, right? Okay, they don't have a place to stay right now. They're really angry. Parents are probably pretty angry. I don't really know what's going on. So my first step though is I'm gonna come in calm, and I'm gonna come in quiet. All right, what's going on? Listen. Okay, if I need to calm on, listen. All right, but that also gives me an opportunity to make sure my emotions are removed from the situation, so then I can provide that wisdom. Okay, this is how we can work for a reconciliation, a resolution. And actually, I mean, we've been working with the same student, in both of our programs who, has definitely had some hot situations. Let's put it that way. But I think is now in a much better place. He's a much better place. And I think for both of us having to counsel him, listening to him has been the key. Because it's difficult to really figure out what's going on with the situation sometimes. Yeah.
And for us being able to understand the situation on another level, and while we supplying that support to parents and the teenagers, like you said, for example, we always go back to things that we've been through in life. Like we understand that we've been 15, 17, we've been teenagers before too. So like you said, it's not always about jumping on them or, like you said, becoming emotional with the situation that they had already going on. Like I said, we gotta, being as the leaders and the shepherds, we have to understand the situation. Like you say, be calm about the situation. Don't get to, that's nothing. Don't get too caught up in the situation, because we can get our emotions, because we care about the students so much. We can get our emotions caught up in it too, and then it just be a whole, a whole mess. So being that, like you said, we stay calm in the situation and understand it better from another level, to be able to supply that support, and give them that support, is like, it's really like I said, letting them know that we've been there before. You know what I'm saying? We've been there before, man, and look where I'm at now.
Right.
Look where I'm at now. When I was your age, I could tell you where I was at, what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? But look where I'm at now, and it's like, we see, like I say, the same student we're working with, we can see like where they're at now, and like I say, where they can be in the future. And they don't even see that, but we see it. So that's why we're able to understand and just give that support. And no matter how hard it may get, like I say, we never give up on them. We just keep pushing them and keep pushing with them. And like I said, it's always about, at the end of the day, that success story that they're gonna have at the end is what we do it for.
Absolutely.
So just keep it pushing and just understanding, man, never giving up, no matter what. Like you said.
I appreciate y'all so much, man. And going into that, to really quickly, like a 30 seconds for each of y'all, like, what is the one thing what is that one piece of advice on the last question that you would give to somebody that wants to be, that is going to be called to being a shepherd?
Yeah.
Because it's more of a calling than anything. What's that one piece of advice that you would give to them?
That's great.
That's a good question. Like like Miss Jenna said earlier, I heard you say earlier something about like people don't they pretty much wonder how you do it. You know what
Exactly,
I'm saying? When they see you, they
exactly.
like,
I could never. I
how
hear that
you
all
do
the
it?
time.
Yeah, how
I
you
could
do
never
it?
work with teenagers.
Or
Yeah.
like I say now it's so crazy because so many teachers and like you said we work in the school so people don't see this, but so many teachers are giving up nowadays. Like I
Yeah.
said when I was in school, we was in school, teachers love their job, like they was loving to teach. Now it's getting scary to the point that it looks like more teachers are like you say either they retiring because they like I can't do it no more, or even if they young and just getting into it, they like nah I ain't doing it. Like nah I'm not doing this no more. Even with the pandemic and things, you know, like excuse me, the pandemic and things was a whole nother monster that came along, and it's like I said, it's like people giving up, you know, and that's another reason why it makes me actually go harder, like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, because like I said, at the point I was never taught to give up, you know what I'm saying, no matter what I've been through in life, and that's what I try to teach them. We all gonna go through things, you know. So if I could give somebody some advice that you know that's want to be a leader and a shepherd, I would tell them like no matter how hard things may get, keep pushing, like keep going, like don't stop doing what you're doing. Like if that's something that you got a passion for doing is helping these teenagers and being a leader, be that, do that, you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And not to say that none of us are perfect, like neither one of us are perfect, you know, but at the end of the day we got to keep pushing, you know, like because we are called, we know now that we have people that are like looking up to us, that you know that people that's dependent on us, no matter like you say you may not think they're getting it at the time, but they're actually dependent on us. And if we gave up on them today, I promise you their life would change, you know, and we would see that because of the support that we are giving them, you know. So like if I could give somebody some advice, like that's what I would tell them, like never give up, like keep pushing no matter what you're doing, like, and that's something that you want to do. If you want to help, if you feel like you called to help younger these teenagers or help anybody, whether it could be older people, if you call to help them too, like you know what I'm saying, like help them, like I say, and be that support. And no matter, like I say, no matter how hard it gets, just don't stop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when you stop, it's when, like I say, when things fall apart and when things go bad. And it's like if everybody stopping, then who's gonna be out here to help us?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I would say for me, I think two maybe. Okay, first is just start, do it.
do it.
You know, stop talking about it. You know, there's so many opportunities to get involved. You know, I mean, our two organizations are just one of many that even in this city exist. You know, and I'm always looking for mentors to come in, be willing to pour into our kids' lives. You know, I mean, I can't carry 30 kids on my back. You know, we got to have the community to support us. You know, so one would be just start, and two would be start with your story. You know, don't necessarily come in thinking, oh, I got to preach a sermon, I got to teach a lesson, I got to have a PowerPoint. You know, for a lot of, I think, young people, they're looking for adults to be relatable. You know, and I know when we invite guest speakers in or we go on field trips for our program, one thing I always tell them is, most of all, what I'm looking for is, who are you? How did you get here? You know, how did you go from being a 17-year-old kid to being a business owner, an entrepreneur? How did you go from being a 17-year-old to being a politician? How did you go from being 17-year-old to being whatever you are successful now? Because that journey is really what these teenagers need to hear. They don't necessarily need to hear, you know, the 7 steps to being, you know, a successful communicator. What they need is the 7 steps how I got from being a teenager like you, and now I'm making 6 figures and I run my own business. It's the real. It's the real. Yeah. So start with your story. Start with your story. Yeah.
That's the real, man. And going into that, it works. You know.
Yeah.
If I'm not living proof, I don't know.
There we go. Yes,
sir.
You
know, it works. It works, man.
Yeah.
You've been through the process. You got a story to tell, bro. And I always use you as an example, even when I'm talking to them. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, the success stories. When you first started up around the league, you was nowhere near where you at now. You know what I'm saying? You was nowhere near the type of person that you are now. Like, not to say that you was a bad person now, but I'm pretty sure you had struggles that you've overcome, you know what I'm saying, from being connected to these two programs. And like I said, things that you're doing now in college and, you know, being on commercials and being on, you know, being in the scene, being on the scene and doing big things, like, you probably never seen yourself being there, you know what I'm saying? It's like going through these different programs and having the support that you have, you know, push you to, you know, be what you are now. And it's like, now it ain't no stopping, you know what I'm saying? Because once you become that adult and you understand and you, like I said, you get it now, and you think back, like, yeah, that's what they was telling me, I get it, you know? So, like, it's no stopping that train once it's rolling. like you say, that's why I say never give up, because once it's going, man, it ain't no stopping you. Like you say, the sky's the limit.
And you're already giving back. I mean, look at you, 20, 21 years old, and because you have been shepherded, now you're already starting to fill in that role and being a shepherd. I think that's really cool, you know? So, and I mean, I'm sure you see it, you know, with some of your guys too, but, you know, it's crazy how quickly, as they begin to mature and become adults, they look back and they're like, oh, wait, I want to come back and I want to give back. And that's, you know, it's just really encouraging. You know, it's really encouraging. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to thank the both of y'all, because, you know, it all comes back, like we were talking about in the last episode, full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And thank y'all so much for being with us, and I hope you guys come back with us as we continue as the story unfolds.
Thank you.